A look into Tracy Chapman's life. Where are they now? Nicki Minaj lawsuit and gay revolutionary. Dare to be different is a slogan often heard, but rarely executed. We all know that in order to make it big in the music industry, especially for Black artists, one must really stand out from the crowd, but not too much. Examples being Whitney Houston, Janet, and Michael Jackson, who were able to cross over and obtain mainstream success due to their palatable images. At a time where people tiptoed around topics such as racism, sexism, and classism, young, gifted singer-songwriter Tracy Chapman would capture the attention of millions, hypnotizing the public with her bold and outspoken lyrics and non-conforming abilities. Similar to the likes of Bob Marley, her F the System approach garnered her worldwide notoriety, and subsequently, unlike Marley, would have her shake hands with misogyny and be rejected by many of the general Black public, as well as radios, due to her style of music. It's been over a decade since Tracy has put out any new music, and any news involving her has been drier than the Sahara Desert, making fans wonder what exactly happened to her and how exactly is Nicki Minaj involved. She challenged beliefs, revived and evolved folk music, and refused to be a vessel for white guilt and fragility, all whilst being young, Black, and queer. Born on March 30 of 1964, Tracy Chapman grew up in a working middle-class family in Cleveland, Ohio. She was abandoned by her father, and her sister were raised by their mother. Similar to many musical geniuses, Tracy was a quiet child and often preferred her own company. Mama Chapman would often play music in the house and noticed her daughter's musical abilities at a very early age. At the age of only 3, her mom bought her a ukulele. But Chapman's love for music wouldn't be taken seriously till she was around 8, when she came across a country music television show, which gave her the urge to ask her mother for a guitar. From then on, Tracy would often write her own songs, coming up with beats and melodies to accompany lyrics about the sky, the playground, kid stuff. Although middle class, her neighborhood was pretty rough, and she went to a school that had metal detectors waiting to traumatize the students before they fully entered the building. She said, at times, it was a terrifying place to be. At around 13, the Ohio school system would begin integrating Black and white students, resulting in mixed-race schools. Remember, y'all, this was back in the 70s, so you'd think mixed-race schools would be no issue, right? Well, wrong. Disappointed, but not surprised, Tracy would be faced with racial abuse on the regular by her white peers, with one incident taking things to the extreme. She would be blindly attacked, beaten, and nearly killed by a gang of white students. She recalls the incident and goes into details about that frightening day. They shouted racial slurs at me. I responded to them and they got really pissed off. They turned around and started beating me up. One guy in particular, it was snowing and he knocked my books to the ground. Anyway, eventually we broke apart and he reached into his boot and pulled out a gun. He told me to run, otherwise he was going to shoot me. I don't know why he didn't. My friends had taken off by this time. There were people watching from their windows, but they didn't do anything either. This ordeal would then lead her to pursue a scholarship to a boarding school in Connecticut that would basically save her life. While studying for a degree in African Studies and Anthropology, Chapman would often do music on the side, mainly as a hobby. She performed on the streets after a Thanksgiving dinner just to pass time and would also perform in coffee shops till a student, Brian Koppelman, heard Chapman playing and brought Tracy to the attention of his father, Charles Koppelman, who ran a music publishing company known as SBK. Impressed was an understatement, and Koppelman would sign Chapman in 1986 and a contract with Elektra Records in 1987. 6 whole months later, because she wanted to finish her studies. Her self-titled debut album, Tracy Chapman, was released in April of 1988 and sold 250,000 copies in its first couple of months. It was until June 11th, just a few months after its initial release, that Tracy Chapman's career would blossom when she performed 2 of her biggest hits to date, Fast Car and Talking About a Revolution, at Nelson Mandela's 70th birthday tribute at the Wembley Stadium in London, in front of thousands and broadcast to over 600 million in 67 countries. Gigged for a side stage performance, aka the not cool or popular enough for the main stage, with just herself and her guitar. A shy Chapman was not expecting to lure the audience in with her raw, unique vocals, melancholic melodies, and outspoken revolutionary protest lyrics. But nevertheless, the crowd and viewers at home were hooked, and 2 weeks after her captivating performance, Tracy's album would sell over 2 million copies. Fast Car would later win Tracy 3 Grammys and was ranked number 167 on the Rolling Stone's Greatest Songs of All Time list back in 2003. She released her follow-up albums Crossroads, Matter of the Heart, and her 4th album, New Beginnings, produced the hit Give Me One Reason, and won the 1997 Grammy for Best Rock Song and peaked at number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100. Tracy had officially revived a once declining genre, aka folk music, and make it fashionable again by mixing and incorporating pop rock and country into her music. Talk surrounding Tracy's young white liberal yuppie audience has been going on for decades. You'd think with her protest undercover pro-black lyrics, black people would be going out of their ways to purchase her albums in bulk, but that just wasn't the case. In a 1990 interview with Time, they explained how Tracy's PC music makes overtures to white people's own socially responsible guilty consciences, and how they get to listen to Chapman sing about doing the right thing, all whilst sitting in their luxury cars and big fancy houses. To this day, we still see this phenomenon occurring. Example being how much money black hip-hop artists make from middle-class and wealthy white people. The interview goes on to say while her label, pop, and alternative rock radios and networks like VH1, MTV, and The Rolling Stone, all white-dominated medias, have gone out of their way to make Chapman a household name. Black radios, on the other hand, would pay her dust. During this time, Tracy would involve herself in a secret romance with the Color Purple author Alice Walker, and details about the relationship wouldn't be shared the two were long separated. Rumors surrounding Tracy's sexuality and gender have been going on for decades, and Walker's convo surrounding her relationship with the fast car singer left some raising an eyebrow, but others shrugging their shoulders cause, honestly, are we surprised? Although Tracy has been hush-hush about the relationship, Alice, on the other hand, in the 2006 interview with The Guardian, discloses more about the relationship. "My life is not to be somebody else's impact." You know what I mean? And it was delicious and lovely and wonderful, and I totally enjoyed it, and I was completely in love with her, but it was not anybody's business but ours. Being the uber private person she is, Tracy has yet to come out and share any details regarding the Once Upon a Time duo. Chapman would take a 4-year hiatus after her 4th and 5th album, and has released 8 albums total as of today, her last being Our Bright Future, released in 2008. The Our Bright Future tour would take off in 2009 with dates spanning across North America and Europe, and would end towards the end of the same year. Tracy had a low profile for a couple of years until she popped back into the spotlight to release her greatest hits album in 2015. To promote the album, she'd give interviews on several outlets, and David Letterman would ask Tracy to perform on one of the last episodes of his talk show, The Late Show with David Letterman. She ended up performing her rendition of Stand By Me by Ben E. King. In 2018, Tracy sued rapper Nicki Minaj for copyright infringement after hearing a sample of her song Baby Can I Hold You on Minaj's unreleased track Sorry from Minaj's Queen album. If you know Tracy, then you know she doesn't allow anyone to sample her music, no matter the price. Unbeknownst to Nicki, she argued that she didn't even know she had sampled a song of Chapman's and thought it was a sample of her rap peer Foxy Brown's song Baby Can I Hold You, which turned out to be a reggae-styled cover of Chapman's. Nicki would then go on Twitter and ask permission to use the song, even though Tracy doesn't have any social media. Nicki then had her team get in contact with Chapman several times, and unfortunately for the self-proclaimed Barbie, Chapman wouldn't budge. Nicki went on to drop her Queen album without the sampled song as scheduled, but not even a day later, radio DJ Funkmaster Flex would play the song on Hot 97, which resulted in Tracy creating the lawsuit. In 2020, the judge had ruled in Nicki's favor, but it wasn't over yet. The jury would ultimately decide whether or not Nicki or her team were responsible for handing Sorry over to Hot 97. At the beginning of this year, the case would be settled out of court, with Minaj paying Chapman $450,000. Aside from her lyrical activism, Tracy is also a huge activist on and off the stage. She has took part in many charity events like the AIDS and Life Cycle back in 2004, and has produced educational music videos that highlight achievements in African American history for Cleveland elementary schools. Although she's never come out and publicly affiliated with any American political parties, in November of 2020, she made her first live TV appearance since 2015, when she performed her song Talkin' About a Revolution on Late Night with Seth Meyers. During the performance, viewers can see the word vote behind her, but unfortunately for us, the video was made private. So, what is Tracy Chapman up to nowadays? Well, she's been laying low, moisturizing her locks, and minding the business that pays her. Aside from the payout between her and Mrs. Minaj, nothing much has arose. We know she's been in a long-term relationship with American Psycho screenwriter Guinevere Turner, and that she's still heavily involved with her activist work. Tracy is an icon in her own right, giving us top-tier political songs that stand the test of time, all whilst staying true to who she is, which is why she'll always be known to us as the quiet revolutionary. Let us know what you think in the comments section below, and stay tuned for our next video.